The ship shook hard and hand fell to the floor. Red lights flashed everywhere. Alarms screamed in his ears. He could hear his shouting, running, dying. Was an engineer, not a soldier. He fixed machines. He made things work. He was not ready for war, but war had found him anyway. The research vessel was a small ship with only 40 people. They were scientists and engineers, studying a new star system far from Earth. They had no weapons. They had no shields. They were peaceful explorers in a universe that did not care about peace. The enemy ships came from nowhere. 3 massive warships, each one bigger than anything had ever seen. They were dark red, shaped like angry birds made of metal. Before anyone could send a message home, the attack began. Remembered fire. He remembered screams. He remembered his friend pushing him into an escape pod and saying, "Live, someone has to tell them what happened." Then everything went black. When woke up, he was not in the escape pod anymore. He was lying on a cold metal floor. His hands were tied behind his back. His head hurt badly. He could taste blood in his mouth. He opened his eyes slowly. The room was dark, lit only by red lights along the walls. The air smelled strange, like metal and something bitter he could not name. Then he saw them. They stood in a circle around him. Tall women, taller than any human he had ever seen. 7 feet, maybe 8. Their skin was silver blue like the moon reflected in water. Their eyes were gold with no white part at all, just gold burning like small suns. They wore black armor that covered their bodies. Weapons hung from their belts. Swords, guns, things did not recognize. Everything about them said one word: warrior. One of them stepped forward. She was the tallest, and her armor had red marks on the shoulders. Her face was sharp and beautiful in a dangerous way, like a knife made into a person. Her silver blue hair was cut short, and a thin scar ran from her forehead to her cheek. She looked down at like he was an insect. "This is the survivor?" she asked. Her voice was deep and cold. "Yes, Commander Nara," another warrior answered. This one had more scars, and one of her eyes was covered by a metal patch. "The only one. We searched the wreckage. All others are dead." Felt his heart break. 40 people, his friends, his colleagues, gone. Commander Nara walked closer. She bent down, bringing her golden eyes level with his. Wanted to look away, but he forced himself to meet her gaze. "What are you?" she asked. "Human," said. His voice was weak, but he did not let it shake. "I am human." "Human," Nara repeated, tasting the word. "We have never heard of your kind. Your ship was small and weak. No real weapons, yet your technology was interesting." She tilted her head. "Tell me about your people. How many ships? How many soldiers? Where is your—" Said nothing. Nara's eyes narrowed. "You will answer me, human." "My name is Han," he said quietly. "I am an engineer. I fix machines. I am not a soldier. I will not help you hurt my people." For a long moment no one moved, waited for the pain. He had seen movies about aliens. He knew what came next: torture, pain, death. But Commander Nara did something strange. She smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had seen 1,000 prisoners and broken every single one. A smile that said, "You will talk. They always talk." "Take him to the holding cells," she said, standing up. "Do not damage him. I want him studied first. We need to understand what we are dealing with before we find there." The warrior with the eye patch grabbed his arm and pulled him to his feet. Her grip was like iron. 2 other warriors fell in beside them as they walked him out of the room. As they left, looked back at Commander Nara. She was already talking to her officers, pointing at screens showing the wreckage of the... She had already forgotten him, moving on to the next problem. But in that brief moment saw something in her face, something beneath the coldness and the power. Her shoulders were tight. Her jaw was clenched. Dark shadows sat under her golden eyes. She looked tired. Not the tiredness of one bad night. This was deeper. This was the tiredness of someone who had been fighting for so long that she had forgotten what rest felt like. The tiredness of someone carrying a weight too heavy for any one person. Had seen that look before, on overworked doctors, on soldiers returning from war, on his own mother after his father died and she worked 3 jobs to keep their family alive. It was the look of someone who was breaking inside, so slowly that they did not even notice anymore. The guards pushed him into a small cell and locked the door. Sat on the cold floor, alone in the dark, surrounded by enemies who could kill him whenever they wanted. He should have been afraid, he was afraid, but he was also thinking. These warriors were powerful. They had destroyed his ship in minutes. They had killed everyone he knew. They were clearly dangerous. But Commander Nara was tired. And tired people sometimes needed help they did not know how to ask for. He did not know what he could do. He was just an engineer. He had no weapons, no power, no plan. But he was still alive, and while he was alive he could watch, he could learn, he could wait. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning in the darkness. His home, his people, they did not know the danger coming for them. Closed his eyes and made a promise to himself. He would find a way, somehow, some way. He would survive. Days passed on the warship Crimson Talon, counted them by the meals they brought him. 2 meals meant 1 day. The food was strange, thick paste that tasted like nothing, but it kept him alive. His cell was small but not terrible. A hard bed, a toilet, dim lights that never turned off. No windows, of course. They were in space. There was nothing to see but stars and darkness. On the 3rd day, someone new came to visit him. She was tall like all the others, but her armor was white instead of black. Her face was softer, more curious than cruel. She carried no weapons that could see. Instead, she held a small metal device that glowed with blue light. "I am healer," she said. Her voice was lighter than Commander Nara's. "I am here to examine you." Stood up slowly. "Examine me for what?" "To understand what you are." She tilted her head, studying him like he was an interesting puzzle. "We have conquered many species. We have never seen anything like you. You are so small, soft. No claws, no armor, no poison. How does your kind survive?" Almost laughed. "We ask ourselves that question a lot." Did not understand the joke. She waved her device over his body, watching the lights change color. She pressed her fingers against his neck, his chest, his head. Her touch was clinical, not rough. "Your heart beats fast," she said. "I am scared," admitted. "Your people killed my friends." Paused. She looked at him with those golden eyes, and for a moment something like confusion crossed her face. "You admit fear?" she asked. "You do not try to hide it." "Why would I hide it? Fear is natural, it keeps us alive." "Among our people, to show fear is to show weakness. Weakness means death." Nodded slowly. "That sounds exhausting." Stared at him for a long time. Then she continued her examination without another word. Over the next few days she came back many times. Each visit lasted longer. She asked questions about human bodies, about how they worked, about how they healed. Answered honestly. There was no point in lying about biology. But slowly, carefully, he began to ask questions too. "How long has your empire existed?" he asked one day. 800 years, said proudly. 800 years. That is a long time. Have you always been at war? Looked confused again. Of course, war is life. War is purpose. We fight the empire to the north. We fight rebel colonies to the south. We fight anyone who challenges us. But when do you rest? Rest, she said the word like it was foreign. There is no rest. There is only victory or death. Felt a deep sadness settle in his chest. 800 years of war. 800 years of fighting and killing and dying. No wonder Commander Nara looked so tired. "What do you do for fun?" he asked. "Fun? You know, enjoyment. Things that make you happy. Music, games, stories, spending time with people you care about. Was quiet for a very long time. When she spoke, her voice was strange. I do not understand these words. We train, we fight, we serve. This is what we do. His heart hurt. A whole species that had forgotten how to be happy. A whole civilization built on nothing but war. A few days later, they assigned him a permanent guard. Her name was Bora, and she was young, maybe the version of 18 or 19. She sat outside his cell for hours, watching him with curious eyes. At first, she did not talk, but was patient. He talked to her anyway, even when she did not respond. He told her about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests, about cities full of lights and music, about his mother's cooking and his sister's laugh, about rainy days when he would sit by the window with a cup of tea and just watch the water fall. "You talk a lot," Bora said one day. It was the first thing she had ever said to him. Smiled. "Humans do that. We like to share stories." "Why?" "Because stories connect us. They help us understand each other. They make us feel less alone." Bora thought about this. "I have never heard a story." "Never, not even when you were a child." "Children do not hear stories. We train. We learn to fight. We learn to kill. By the time we are 6 years old, we can break bones with our hands." Felt sick, but he kept his face calm. "Would you like to hear a story?" Bora looked around, as if checking whether anyone was watching. Then she nodded just a little. So told her a story, a simple one about a rabbit and a turtle who raced each other. The rabbit was fast but lazy. The turtle was slow but never gave up. In the end, the turtle won. When he finished, Bora was frowning. "I do not understand," she said. "The rabbit was faster, the rabbit should have won." But the rabbit stopped trying. The turtle kept going, even when it seemed impossible. Sometimes the one who keeps going wins, not the one who is strongest. Bora was silent for a long time. Then she said, "Tell me another one." So he did, and the next day she asked for another, and another. Word spread through the ship. The strange human prisoner who told stories, who talked about things no one had ever talked about before, who was not afraid, or at least, who did not hide his fear. Warriors began walking past his cell more often. They pretended they had business nearby, but could see them listening. Their golden eyes were curious, hungry in a way they did not understand. Came to him one evening, her face troubled. "The crew is talking about you," she said. "You are changing something, I do not know what, but something is different now." Looked at her carefully. "When was the last time you slept? Really slept, not just closed your eyes for a few hours?" She opened her mouth to answer, then she stopped. Her face went blank. "I do not remember," she whispered. "That is what I thought." His voice was gentle. "You have been fighting for so long, you have forgotten how to live. All of you have." Looked at him with her golden eyes, and for the first time, saw something there besides duty and discipline. He saw doubt. And doubt knew was the first crack in any wall. Commander Nara summoned on the 15th day. 2 guards came to his cell and pulled him out. They walked him through long hallways filled with warriors in black armor. Everyone stopped to look at him. The strange human, the one who told stories. The war chamber was a large round room with screens covering every wall. Maps of star systems glowed in blue and red. Numbers scrolled past, showing ship counts and weapon supplies and things could not understand. Nara stood in the center, her silver-blue skin bright under the lights. Her officers surrounded her, including Lieutenant, the one with the eye patch. They all watched like hunters watching prey. But there was something different in their eyes now, something had not seen before. Curiosity. "Human," Nara said. "Han, my crew has been talking about you." "I have noticed," said carefully. "They say you tell stories, that you speak of strange things, music, games, something called fun." She said the word like it tasted bad. "They say you ask questions no one has ever asked before." I am just trying to understand you, said. Is that wrong? Nara ignored his question. She walked closer, her boots loud on the metal floor. She was so tall that had to look straight up to see her face. I have been thinking about your kind, she said. Humans, you are weak. No claws, no armor, no natural weapons. A child of our species could kill 10 of yours. And yet your ship, though small, had technology that surprised us. Your engines were efficient. Your computers were clever. How? Thought carefully before answering. We work together. We share knowledge. We build on what others have made before us. All species do this. Yes, but we do it because we want to, not just because we have to. We teach our children not just how to survive, but how to dream. How to imagine things that do not exist yet and then make them real. Nara's golden eyes narrowed. Dreams do not win wars. Maybe not, agreed. But dreams built the ship you destroyed. Dreams sent us across the stars. Dreams made us reach out into the darkness not to conquer but to learn, to meet people like you. And now your people are dead. Your dreams did not save them. The words hit like a punch. He felt his throat tighten. 40 faces flashed through his mind. Who pushed him into the escape pod? Dr. Park, who always shared her lunch. Captain Minu, who sang old songs when the nights were long. Gone, all of them, because of the woman standing in front of him. But did not let his anger win. He swallowed it down and looked at Nara with steady eyes. No, he said quietly. Dreams did not save them, but dreams are why they were out here in the first place. We knew space was dangerous. We knew we might die, but we went anyway because we believed that meeting new life was worth the risk. That is foolish. Maybe, but it is also beautiful. Nara stared at him. The words seemed to confuse her. Beautiful. Yes, to hope even when hope is dangerous. To reach out even when you might be hurt. That is what makes us human. Nara was quiet. Her officers watched in silence. The screens glowed and scrolled behind them, but no one moved. Then Nara spoke again, and her voice was harder now. Beautiful, hope, dreams. These are words of the weak. In our empire, weakness is death. We did not conquer 100 worlds by hopping. We conquered them by being stronger, faster, more brutal than anyone else. And are you happy? The question hung in the air like smoke. Nara's face went blank. Happy, she repeated. Yes, you have conquered so much. You have power and ships and soldiers, but are you happy? When you wake up in the morning, do you feel joy? When you close your eyes at night, do you feel peace? For a long, terrible moment, Nara did not answer. Then her hand moved toward her weapon. You dare question me? Her voice was low and dangerous. I am a commander of the empire. I have burned worlds. I have killed millions. I do not need happiness. I need victory. She stepped closer, towering over. Her officers tensed, ready to watch him die. He could feel the heat of her anger, the weight of her power. But did not step back. He was tired of being afraid, tired of waiting. If he was going to die, he would die as himself. He looked up at this terrifying warrior goddess who had destroyed everything he loved. He looked at her silver-blue skin, her sharp features, her burning golden eyes. He looked at the exhaustion hidden beneath her anger, the loneliness buried under her power. And he said something that no one expected. You know, Commander, you are lovely. The room went silent. Every warrior froze. His hand stopped halfway to her weapon. Bora, standing by the door, dropped her sword with a loud clang. Nara stared at Like. He had just spoken a language she had never heard. What did you say? She whispered. I said you are lovely. His voice was calm, almost gentle. Not because of your power or your conquests, but because you have carried so much weight for so long and you are still standing. Because somewhere, deep inside, there is still a person who gets tired, who feels alone, who wonders if there is more to life than war. Nara did not move. She did not breathe. In my language, continued softly, when we call someone lovely, we mean that we see them. Not what they do or what they have, just them. The person underneath everything else. The silence stretched on and on. Warriors looked at each other in confusion. No one knew what to do. No one had ever seen anything like this. Finally, Nara spoke. Her voice was strange, almost broken. "Take him back to his cell." The guards grabbed arms, but gently this time, as if they were afraid to touch him. As they led him away, looked back. Commander Nara stood alone in the center of the war chamber, surrounded by maps of conquered worlds and weapons of destruction. Her hands were shaking, and in her golden eyes saw something he had never seen before. A crack in the wall. A door beginning to open. Hope. Everything changed after that day. The story of what said to Commander Nara spread through the ship like fire. Warriors whispered it to each other in the hallways. They repeated the strange word in their bunks at night. Lovely. It was such a small word, such a simple thing, but to they who had never heard anything like it, the word was a bomb. Warriors began coming to cell. At first, they came alone, late at night when no one else was watching. They stood outside his door and looked at him with their golden eyes. "Tell me about your world," they would say. "Tell me about the things you call beautiful." So told them. He told them about sunsets over the ocean, when the sky turned orange and pink and gold. He told them about cherry blossoms in spring, falling like pink snow. He told them about his grandmother singing, her voice old and cracked but full of love. He told them about Bobbies laughing, about dogs wagging their tails, about the way rain sounded on a window. The warriors listened in silence. Some of them cried. They did not know they were crying because had forgotten what tears were, but the water ran down their silver-blue faces and they did not wipe it away. Lieutenant came to him on the 5th day after his meeting with Nara. She was angry. Her face was twisted with something that looked like fear but felt like fury. She grabbed the bars of his cell and pulled them so hard they bent. "What have you done to us?" she demanded. "What weapon is this?" Stayed calm. "It is not a weapon, Lieutenant. It is just the truth." "Truth?" laughed bitterly. "My warriors are weak now. They cry. They talk about feelings. They ask questions they should not ask. This is your fault." "No, this was always inside them. I just helped them see it." Stared at him with her one good eye. Her body was shaking. "I have killed for the Empire," she whispered. "I have done terrible things. I told myself it was for victory, for glory, but now I cannot sleep. I close my eyes and I see their faces, all the people I hurt, and I feel—" She stopped. "What is this feeling, this heavy thing in my chest?" "Guilt," said gently. "It means you know what you did was wrong. It means you still have a heart even after everything." Fell to her knees outside his cell. This woman who had conquered planets, who had killed thousands, knelt on the cold metal floor and cried like a child. Reached through the bars and touched her shoulder. She flinched at first, then let him keep his hand there. "It is not too late," he said. "It is never too late to change." Meanwhile, the High Command had learned about the human prisoner. A message came through the ship's communication system, cold and clear. The human designated Han is classified as a cultural contamination threat. He is to be delivered to the for immediate execution. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of the Crimson Talon and all aboard. Commander Nara read the message alone in her quarters. She read it again and again until the words burned in her mind. They wanted her to give up the human. The small, soft, strange creature who had called her lovely, who had looked at her not with fear but with kindness, who had seen something in her that she had forgotten existed. A knock came at her door. "Enter," Nara said. Healer walked in, carrying a tablet full of data. Her face was excited in a way Nara had never seen before. "Commander, I have completed my study of the human. I need to show you what I found." Spread her data across Nara's screens. Charts and graphs and chemical formulas filled the room with light. Human biology is incredible, said. Their brains produce chemicals that we do not have. Chemicals for happiness, for love, for bonding with others. They are literally built to connect with each other, to care for each other, to feel joy. Nara stared at the data. What are you saying? I am saying that humans evolved to love. It is not weakness. It is their greatest strength. Their bodies heal faster when they have loved ones nearby. Their minds work better when they feel happy. Their soldiers fight harder when they believe in something beyond just victory. His voice dropped to a whisper. Commander, we have been fighting wrong for 800 years. We thought strength meant being alone, being hard, being cruel. But the humans, they show us that strength can also mean connection. It can mean kindness. It can mean being lovely. Nara closed her eyes. She felt so tired, so impossibly tired. That night she went to cell. The guards let her through without question. She stood outside his door in the dim red light, watching him sleep on his hard bed. He looked so small, so fragile, and yet he had shaken her entire ship with nothing but words. He opened his eyes and saw her standing there. Commander, he said, sitting up. He did not look afraid. Nara could not speak for a long moment. When she finally did, her voice was barely a whisper. Why did you call me lovely? I have killed thousands. I have burned worlds. I have done things that would make your people scream. Why would you say such a thing to me? Looked at her with those strange human eyes, brown and warm in the red light. Because you are tired, Commander, and you are still fighting. That takes a different kind of strength, one your people have forgotten how to see. But I am a monster. You are a person who was taught to be a monster. That is different. Nara felt something break inside her, something that had been hard and cold for so long that she had forgotten it was there. What should I do? She asked. It was the first time in her life she had asked anyone for help. Smiled. It was a sad smile, full of loss and hope mixed together. You should do what feels right, not what the Empire tells you, not what your training says, just what feels right here. He touched his chest over his heart. Listen to this. It knows more than you think. Nara stood in silence for a long time. Then she reached up and touched her own chest, her hand pressing against the armor over her heart. She could feel it beating. She had never noticed before. Without another word, she turned and walked away, back to her quarters, back to the message from High Command, back to the choice that would change everything. 2 hours later, she walked to the bridge of the Crimson Talon. Her officers stood at attention, waiting for orders. Commander Nara looked at them, at with her tears still drying, at with her new knowledge, at Bora standing by the door, her eyes full of questions. Then she did something no commander had done in 800 years. She turned off the ship's tracking beacon. The bridge was silent after Commander Nara turned off the tracking beacon. Every officer stood frozen, their golden eyes wide with shock. They knew what this meant. Without the beacon, the Empire could not find them, but it also meant something else. They were now traitors. I am going to speak clearly, Nara said, her voice calm but powerful. The Empire has ordered me to send the human to his death. I will not do this. No one moved, no one breathed. He has shown us something we forgot long ago. He has reminded us that we are not just warriors. We are people. We have hearts that can feel more than just duty. We have minds that can think beyond just war. Nara looked at each of her officers one by one. I am taking this ship to human space, not as conquerors but as something we have never been before, visitors, perhaps even friends. Any of you who wish to remain loyal to the Empire may take the escape pods. I will not stop you. I will not judge you. But I am done fighting for people who have forgotten how to live. The silence stretched on, stood near the weapons controls, her face unreadable, waited by the medical station. Bora stood at the door, her young face torn with confusion. Finally spoke. I have followed you for 20 years, Commander, through battles and blood and fire. If you say this human is worth betraying everything for, then I believe you." She stepped forward and stood beside Nara. "I go where you go." One by one, the others followed. Bora, every officer on the bridge walked forward and stood with their commander. Not a single person moved toward the escape pods. Nara felt her eyes burn with something wet. She did not know what it was, but it felt like relief. "Set course for human space," she said. "Maximum speed." The journey took 3 weeks. During that time, the Crimson Talon became something new. Was released from his cell. He walked freely through the ship, teaching everyone who wanted to learn. He showed them how to play card games and how to whistle. He taught them songs from Earth, simple ones that children sang. He explained what jokes were and why people laughed. The warriors were clumsy at first. They did not know how to laugh. Their first attempts sounded like coughing, rough and painful. But slowly, day by day, the sounds became lighter, brighter, real. Learned to cook. She had never prepared food before because only ate nutritional paste, but showed her how to mix flavors, how to make things taste good instead of just filling the stomach. Her first meal was terrible, burnt and strange, but she made another one, and another. And by the end of the second week, warriors were lining up to taste her experiments. Learned to sing. Her voice was rough from years of shouting battle commands, but she practiced every night. She sang the songs taught her, songs about love and loss and hope. Sometimes, late at night, other warriors would gather outside her quarters just to listen. Bora asked to teach her to draw. On her there was no art, no pictures, no beauty created just for the sake of beauty, but she had seen images on tablet, pictures of mountains and flowers and faces, and she wanted to make her own. Her first drawings were like a child's, simple lines and shapes, but her eyes shone with joy every time she finished one. Even Commander Nara changed. She smiled more now, small smiles that barely touched her lips but reached her eyes. She joined the crew for meals instead of eating alone. She asked questions about human culture, about families and holidays, and the simple ways people showed love. One evening she sat on the observation deck, watching the stars stream past. "I have been learning your language," she said quietly. "Korean, it is very difficult." "You are learning Korean," was surprised. "Why?" "Because when we reach your people, I want to speak to them properly. I want them to know we come with respect." She paused, then said something in broken Korean, her accent thick and strange. "Nand, I am happy to meet you." Felt his eyes fill with water. "That was very good, Commander." "Nara," she said, "please call me Nara." When they reached the edge of human space, warning signals immediately filled their screens. Human ships appeared from nowhere, dozens of them, weapons pointed at the Crimson Talon. "Alien vessel, identify yourself or be destroyed," a human voice crackled through the speakers. Walked to the communication panel. Nara nodded at him. He pressed the button and spoke. "This is Han of the research vessel. I was the sole survivor when my ship was destroyed by the Empire. But I am not calling for revenge. I am calling to introduce you to some friends." There was a long silence on the other end. "Friends?" the human voice asked, confused. "Yes, they were my enemies. They could have killed me, but instead they listened. They learned. They changed." Looked at Nara, at and Bora and all the silver-blue faces watching him with hope in their golden eyes. "They are tired of war. They want to learn how to live. Will you give them a chance?" Another long silence. Then a different voice came through the speaker, older and calmer. "This is Admiral of the Earth Defense Fleet. Mr. Han, your message is unexpected. We will need to verify your identity and discuss terms, but if what you say is true, then we will talk." The negotiations took many days. There was suspicion and fear and anger. Many humans wanted revenge for thee and its crew, but spoke for the. He told humanity what he had seen, how these warriors had changed, how they had risked everything to seek peace instead of war. In the end, humanity did what it had always done best. It gave strangers a chance. The first to step onto Earth's soil was Commander Nara. She walked down the ramp of a landing shuttle into bright sunlight, blinking her golden eyes against the unfamiliar warmth. She stood on green grass for the first time in her life. She felt wind on her face, real wind from a real planet. She heard birds singing, creatures she had never imagined making music in the trees. In the distance, she could see children playing. Human children, small and soft and laughing. They were running through a field, chasing each other, falling down and getting up again. No training, no weapons, just joy. Stood beside her, watching her face. "What do you think?" he asked. Nara could not speak for a long moment. When she finally found her voice, it was thick with emotion. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "It is all so beautiful." Then she turned to him and spoke in careful, practiced Korean. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of everything she felt. "Thank you for seeing me," smiled, his eyes bright with tears. "That is what humans do," he said. "We see each other." Nara looked back at the children playing in the field, at the blue sky and green grass, at the world full of colors and sounds and life. She felt her heart beating in her chest, strong and steady, and full of something she had no name for. Not yet. But she would learn. And for the first time in 800 years, a warrior wept, not from pain, not from loss, but from something new. Something lovely. Something that felt like a beginning.